Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and in today's video I'm going to talk about the one thing that has helped me improve my art drastically, and also I'll be giving a bonus tip at the end, so watch the full video to know about it. Without any further ado, let us get into the video. So the one thing that has helped me in my art journey drastically, majorly and importantly is to work with bigger value chunks and also to work with bigger brushes as long as possible in the painting. What is a value? Value is how light or how dark something is there in the painting. Now you would have heard many artists saying that value is the most important thing. Well, I'm not sure whether I would agree to that, because as a whole, painting entirely is having so many aspects to it, and there are so many other things which are equally important as value. But yes, when you're starting out and laying on the foundation on the canvas, value is the most important thing, because onto that foundation you're going to build up the entire painting. Many artists also do small thumbnail sketches in their sketchbooks. These are the small black and white drawings they do in their sketchbooks to define composition and also to divide the entire painting into values. Now many artists will be working with 4 to 5 values, but when you're starting out, I would recommend working with 3 to 4 values. The sign of an artist is not how complicated he makes everything, but how much simplification he does in his painting. So simplifying and working with only 4 value chunks is enough, and then you can build up values inside those values and then the entire painting. Now when I say to work only with 4 values, you will be asking that in order to define everything in the painting, how can we only have 4 values? Now when you're working with only 4 values, you have to simplify things. You have to match the nearest value of that particular scene with the 4 values only. In that way, the simplification will make your paintings more dynamic, and it is going to look a lot better than the complicated ones, because according to me, a painting should actually look like painting and not a photograph. Now when you're on location, I would not recommend you guys to start with value drawings, because that is going to take up a lot of time of yours, especially when you are beginning out. Now if you're ready to spend only 10 minutes in your thumbnail sketches, then you can go for it, but mostly I wouldn't recommend doing value thumbnail. Instead of that, what you can do is you can find the values in a painting by squinting your eyes like this. Now when you're squinting your eyes, you are removing the details in the painting, and also you're removing the color from the painting. When these two aspects of the paintings are set aside, then you can work with values. Use a little bit of your intuition and divide the entire painting into 3 to 4 value chunks. One more way you can do this is by taking picture on your phone and then convert that picture into black and white image and blur it a little bit so that all the details and the color is gone from the painting, and then you can paint that picture on location. When we are going as an artist on location to paint a landscape, we are already struggling with so many things. So in order to simplify things, you can just take a picture and convert it into black and white image. As I have told you already that the value is actually the lightest or the darkest areas in the painting. Now when you're putting a light area against a very dark area, you're creating contrast, and in turn that contrast can also create your focal point. I have made a detailed video on focal point, so you can watch that video here, and that will give you a complete understanding of how things are working in a painting when you're putting in the focal point. Cover the entire canvas in the initial 10 minutes of your painting, because that white on the canvas is really going to bug you at the end. In the entire painting, in the first 10 minutes with values, chunks of the values, and wherever you're going to put the focal point. Now the focal point is the lightest areas in the painting, and there you can put the lightest value in the painting. Now if you can create contrast, which I have already mentioned, that will enhance the focal point in your painting. Painting that I'm doing is actually first is dividing it into value chunks and then working from that. Now, if you want to see the entire video, after I upload the video on YouTube, I will upload this video, the full description on my Patreon as well. So if you want to check that out, you can go and check on my Patreon as well. How can you achieve depth in a painting by using values alone? Now, aerial perspective says that as the things are going further away from us, they are going lighter in values and lighter in contrast and are becoming more bluer. Now when you remove the color part apart from the scene and the painting is only divided into black and white chunks, you can see that as the things are further away, they are having lesser contrast and they are having lighter values. In order to create depth in the painting, you can paint the paintings or the objects or the masses which are further away from us into lighter value chunks. And then when the things are closer to us, like if you are standing nearby, the contrast will be more and the values are much more darker. That is how you're gonna achieve depth in the painting. The most important part of the value is that value is actually how the light is interacting with a three-dimensional object. I would recommend you guys to paint from life all the time, because that is going to make your brain get adapted to the things in 3 dimension and converting them into 2-dimensional objects. Instead of working from photographs, you can actually go on location and see how the light is working. With the light is changing so fast in the landscape that you have to quickly determine what is going to be your focal point, and you have to lay in all the things first. So as I told, that the values are actually how the light is interacting with certain objects. The darkest portions will be where the light is not reaching, and the lightest portion will be the areas where the light is there. Now when you're working with the painting entirely, I would recommend you to stand up and paint, because in that way you can go behind and check on the value relationship. Again, you can squint your eyes to see whether you're going right or you're not. Now we have this tendency, when we are putting the highlight onto a mass which is darker in value than the rest of the painting, we are going to put a lot lighter onto that. So that shouldn't be the case. So that is why I would recommend you guys to just paint from a distance and look around at a distance what you have painted. In that way you can be your own coach while painting. How can you achieve form of a particular object in a painting by using values alone? Again, I have told you that values is actually light interacting with an object, so you have to simplify things as much as possible in the painting. If you are painting indoors and you're painting a still life, you can take the picture on your phone again and then convert it into black and white images, and then you can see how the light is interacting. In fact, you can check your value sense by actually painting the painting first and then taking the picture of the original scene and your painting and matching the values in that. In that way, that will be a good exercise for you to see whether you are doing it properly or not. When you have divided the entire painting into values, later comes the colors, the variation of colors, the lightest areas and the darkest area. When you're painting the value, try to paint the average value of that particular mass. Try to paint the average of the image. When you squint your eyes, you will know what is the average value of that particular mass in a painting. Angles are also very important, and you have to see the direction of the light, how it is falling onto the landscape. Now, as I am telling you about values is not an easy subject to understand, but as much as you're going to practice, you're going to get better at values. You can do certain studies in black and white as well, but I would recommend you doing colored studies only, because then that will improve your color sense as well as your value sense. Later you can check your painting by taking the pictures and matching it with the photograph or the scene you are painting. Why I have told you that you have to work with the largest brush and for as long as possible in the painting, it's because it will give you a dynamism and it will also help you stay in that value zone only, and you're not going to paint something very lighter. When we are painting with smaller brushes, we are actually intended more to go into details in the initial stages of the painting, wherein the foundation is very important at the initial stages. So I recommend people to start working with bigger brushes and then move on to smaller brushes. The big brushes will give you dynamism and will also provide you looseness in the painting that you are looking for. Now when you're moving on to the smaller brushes, make sure you're working with 2 brushes. That is going to help you a lot in the detailing of the painting and things like that. Now, but when you are more of a realistic painter, you can change your brushes accordingly. Yeah, but initially work with just 1 brush. One more exercise for you is that try to match the values of different colors. Like when you have a red color, try to match it with the yellow color by mixing the complementary color to yellow and see which value stage the yellow matches with the red. That you can do again with your phone, and this is the best value exercise I would tell you it is, because red is a darker value and yellow is the lightest value. You can do the same thing with all the other colors and try to match the values. Now when you read the book written by James Kearney and other artists, which I have mentioned in this video here, you will see that they have actually worked on color swatches a lot. Color swatches are really important, and that is why you need to try to make color swatches as much as possible if you are a self-taught artist. Try to do that in your free time. When you're done with your painting and marketing and things like that, you can just work on your color swatches exercises. One more thing I would like to recommend you is that when you're working on details in the painting, so start with the focal point, as I have mentioned in my focal point video. So starting with the focal point will make sure that you're going to put in the details on the focal point area. The best way to work on it is that working a little bit on the focal point and moving outward. In that way, you can define what are the most important areas in the painting, and later on you can put in a little bit less detail in the areas which are not important. Now I have mentioned how important attention to detail in this video, so you can go and watch that video as well, because that is going to change a lot in your painting style. Considering only the focal point is very important, because that is the area where we are going to put the lightest light and the darkest dark. Along with that, a lot of details. Later comes the edges, but we are not going to discuss about edges and composition in this video. I will make another video on edges and compositions. We have now come to the bonus tips. Let us divide the entire landscape into valuescapes, and let us see how everything is going to go into your painting. I'm going to give you a general idea of how landscape paintings should be approached. So the first thing is that light is coming from the sky, and when the light is coming from the sky, obviously the sky is going to be the lightest area. Now even on a cloudy day, the lightest area in the painting is going to be the sky, because this is the source of light and the light is coming and falling onto the ground and onto the trees. Now, when we come to trees are actually standing straight. So when you look at the angle of the tree and you look at the direction of the light falling on it, the light is falling on the tree in only perpendicular direction, and that is why the tree masses are the darkest in the painting. So you can generalize the painting by saying that the trees are the darkest in the landscape. Now next thing, let us move on to the land. Now when you go to the land is actually a flat surface. When light is falling from the sky onto the land is going to light up. So that is why the land is mid-valued section of the painting. So this is mid-valued, somewhere in between the values of sky and the trees. Now when you have slant surfaces like mountains, so the mountains are having an angle more than 90 degrees, so they are going to receive light which is much more than that received by the trees. So mountains are going to be the next value chunk, but they are darker than the land itself. This is how you're gonna divide your entire painting into 4 value chunks. It is not as easy to implement in a painting when you are actually doing it. So you need to do a lot of experimentation and a lot of painting in order to understand this fully. So get going and start painting now. Do let me know what are the things that you are struggling with right now in defining the values in the painting. Now if you want to learn more about art, you can watch the playlist and I will see you there. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I will see you in the playlist. Bye bye guys.